Are you looking for an escape from manufactured truth wrapped in selfish agenda? Don't you just want to have a real and raw conversation, all masks and rules aside? That's what you're getting here at Titan Evolution Podcast. Get rid of all the nonsense information and discuss everything under the sun without filters. Listen to real stories of real people who will put your current perspectives to the test, guide you on living the life you truly want, and see everything free from judgment and pretenses. Time to get rid of those unhealthy environments and let your authentic self shine. Here are your hosts, Travis Johnson and Carol Carpenter.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm here today with my host, Carol, and we've got a treat for you. Catherine Kontos, the retreat boss, is going to tell us about all the wonderful things. Catherine, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, glad to have you.
Payback time, right?
It's payback time.
Yeah, it's payback time because Catherine actually had me on her first show, Stripped Bare. Gosh, when was that? Like,
it was right after the pandemic announced itself.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
2 years ago, over 2 years ago.
My God, has it been that long?
Yes.
We have a lot to catch up on then.
We really do. We really do. So now it's payback. Like we said before.
Well, we were just saying just prior to this that I had made one of our guests cry in an interview, and then wasn't it
So
you?
mean.
Yeah, Catherine,
Super
that said,
mean.
"Oh, I made you cry," and I'm like, is it payback time now?
Yeah. And I remember you being so like, oh my God, I don't believe I cried. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what do you mean? No, of course. This is what the show's meant to do, right? So like meant to do, it's not meant to make you cry, but
Well,
it was meant to strip
this
you.
show is not meant to make anyone cry. It's meant to see your real, true,
Your real
self.
true. I
no
love
masks, none of that stuff.
Yeah,
Was it
no
Oscar
masks.
Wilde said, don't try to be everyone else. Everyone else is already taken. You gotta be you.
That's a
And-
great quote. Yep.
And
That's
that's
what-
what makes everyone unique. You know, I have a hard time when I see people kind of starting to look like everybody and sort of like acting like everybody. Like everybody's kind of the same, and it feels robotic to me and truly not authentic. So it's like if you have, something that makes you unique, a facial appearance or a characteristic, or you think you're weird. I'm as weird as hell. Like I love the fact that I'm weird. People don't get to see that side of me too much because I'm a business person. And, but close the door behind my home after 9 p.m. when I have zero filter in my brain because I'm exhausted. So like everything just splurges out of my mouth, like without a filter, in a good way though, not in a bad way. And I say the funniest shit that's out there. My daughter's like, all her friends are like, your mom's weird. We love her, and it's like, yeah, that's just me. I don't know what happens after 9 o'clock. I just have zero filter in my brain. I cannot even I'm so tired. I can't even process a thought. It just goes into my mind and out of my mouth.
Out.
So we should all go out one night, to a bar and see what happens with alcohol.
Oh yeah. I'm down. Make it happen.
So yeah.
Well, I already know what happens to Carol when she gets done. I got to spend a week with her in Texas, but I'm interested to see how we can sprinkle in a little bit of Catherine and how that's going to change the dynamic.
Oh, let's see what happens. Oh no.
Catherine's
baby.
doll. We love her. But when I remember when I came on your show, you had written that book Soul Shaker, and we had discussed the fact that they pulled it because of the cover. And I was so astonished because you remember Demi Moore when she was pregnant and she was just covering up just the bare essentials, right? Literally, because she was bearing everything else.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't censor her, but yet they censored your book, which was not even, I didn't think really bore more than what she did.
No, even less actually. And the way it's funny because what happened is, okay, I'm launching this book on Facebook. When I was sharing it personally amongst friends and family, whatever, in order for it to get banned, somebody would have to complain. That's how it works, right? That it's inappropriate. Nobody complained. And to this day, nobody's ever complained. They absolutely share it, love it. Nobody's offended by it at all because there's nothing offensive about it. But when I went to pay for advertising on Facebook, they banned me, and I argued. And you could see all the responses were generic. It's like you're trying to sexualize, you're using sexuality or sexualizing. It's a sexualizing image. It's provoking. It's whatever. And really all I did, because I'm a breast cancer survivor, all I did was basically, you don't even see cleavage. It's the side of my breast and you see an inch scar. Like, it's not even like something that would freak anybody out. But I was naked for the picture, but it really doesn't show anything other than the side of my body, no cleavage, a scar, my face and my arm and my hand covering myself. And it came back a few times and I kept arguing. I'm like, I'm arguing with the machine, because you could tell this was just, it wasn't human. So I went to the news, and the news, the local news called Facebook, emailed them, because they're very hard to get to, and they got my book back on. And they said, we apologize. Of course, there's nothing offensive of it, and who knows, we're thinking maybe if it wasn't like generic or whatever, a machine saying, the computer saying it's no good, maybe it was a person, but maybe they're in an area that it would be risque. Maybe they live somewhere where this is a risque kind of thing. I don't know what it was. Either
Catherine,
way,
you see more at the beach in bikinis than it just blows my mind.
No, just go on Facebook itself and you will see what's on there.
Way more than
I
that.
see more on the beach in Dubai. I'm looking at your picture right now, Soul Shaker, A Whirlwind Awakening, Catherine Kontos. I'm looking at the photo right now, and I don't know what on earth they have a problem with. First off, we were created to be beautiful beings, to find each other, all of those things. Like how someone perverts that image in their mind, that's their problem. That has nothing to do with the human body.
And you know what I wrote to Facebook at one point, because I was getting really annoyed. I go, whoever is banning, whoever's making this decision on banning, my image, I'll tell you one thing, there's nothing sexy about being scarred from breast cancer.
Exactly.
I was just so annoyed with this decision.
Catherine, I got banned. They actually took down and would not allow me to post on Facebook. And to get back on after they literally put you in Facebook jail is impossible. I mean, and I tried for weeks and it was still impossible. So I get your struggle with it. It's really frustrating. I think maybe it starts off with somebody complaining, but what they don't understand is the long-term effects it has on you, or maybe they do understand the long-term effects it has on you, but it is almost damn near impossible to get back on and be able to post again. In fact, I have another freeze on my account right now. And what we've basically I know.
Rebels.
Really,
that's what happens after 9.
Rebels. I didn't realize I was with such rule breakers here. Like, look out.
Wow. Well, hey, bar time. Let's talk.
Let's get him banned from Facebook.
My account got banned because I posted something that had to do with free college and all this and that. And I had Mike Rowe, who is very active, talking about that people should go to tech schools and all this and that. And a lot of people on the left don't like him for whatever stupid reason. And I had my account banned as well because Mike Rowe's photo was depicted in there. I'm like, you want to tell me, read the post and tell me what's wrong with this thing, please, dear God. I have no idea why I'm banned right now.
Guilt by association kind of thing?
Yeah. And then the person came back and read it like 2 days later. He's like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. I don't know why I got hit, because they have bots that scrub.
Yes.
And apparently Mike Rowe was on the, you better watch out list. Mike Rowe has got political things to say or something. I'm like, what on earth is it's Mike Rowe? Like, what is going? He's not hurting anybody. What's the deal here?
So full disclosure, I did not get banned personally. It was my advertising that got banned for my book. And by the way, if I try to post that image, even because it got banned again after they put it up, it got banned again after when I tried to advertise after 2 weeks with a new ad. And to this day, if I try to post an advertisement, they will not accept it. So they did nothing to fix the situation. Anyway, it is what it is.
It's almost like they don't have humans that are actually getting a fresh eye on it. It's so robotic that it's an automatic reply to it, and they just automatically do it, and they figure they'll just deal with it later. But let's be honest, wouldn't it be easier to just put a human being, a set of eyes, on it and say, oh, no, that's okay. And then maybe put it somewhere in the file. Like if this person tries to come back and advertise, we're aware of the situation. It's fine, instead of you fighting it every time you try.
Exactly. Look, I understand the first set for it to be like barred or banned, because you can't have, there's billions, like I don't know how many billion people are on this platform. But if the person's complaining and arguing with you, then it should go to the next level, which is
escalation. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
well, mine is obviously due to the name of my company. So sometimes that just alone gets me banned.
Vixens?
Yeah.
But
if you look at my profile, it's not like naked dick pics and stuff like that. So, it's all motorcycles and stuff we do at the track. So if somebody would just look, then
you can't do that on Facebook. You can do it on Instagram, which is owned by Facebook.
Go figure.
So we've talked a lot about the book and getting banned on Facebook. And this was all due to breast cancer. Tell us a story about how you discovered and what was going on in your life when you went through breast cancer.
Yeah. So I was 40 years old, and it's weird because I never, a lot of people, especially women, whenever they get to that type of any birthday, really over 25, I think, they start feeling like, oh, another birthday, they get down and, 30 hits and it's difficult. I never had that issue. I was always like happy to have my birthday. But on my 40th birthday, I don't know what it was. I just wasn't having it. And it was a difficult few years. My relationship was really going to hell. I had just launched what I thought was my dream business, which was basically, I was very much into real estate investing. I had made a lot of money in doing so. I had bought many buildings and businesses because of it, and et cetera, et cetera. And I bought this and I converted it into a retreat center for addictions. And I was working a crazy amount of hours. Like I would say I was waking up with my laptop next to me and falling asleep with my laptop next to me. That's how much I was working. Weekends were not weekends where I could socialize. It was all about work. I was losing a lot of weight. Launching this business, I thought it was because of stress, because I was overworking myself. I wasn't even remembering to eat. So I really didn't think I was sick. And then like everything was really just spiraling for me. And things were so bad at one point that I came home and I just cried so hard that I fell on the floor. And I asked, like, God, please end this for me. And I meant like my life. And 2 days later, it's like, all of a sudden I have these symptoms. I was at work. I was driven up to the, my workplace was in the mountains. So I went to the mountains and I was in my office by myself in this big building, and I'm looking outside. And all of a sudden my face goes numb, and then my parts of my body start going numb, and just these twitches started happening. And I'm going, whoa, what's going on here? I go, okay, God, I was kidding. I wasn't really serious about what I asked for the other day. Like, no, like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. But I really meant it when I asked for it. It was a heartfelt, like, just, let me go. And soon after, I found out that I found a lump in my breast. I was lying down and it just like popped up. And I felt the lump. Within 24 hours, I had an appointment. They did all the mammograms, the ultrasounds, and they did a biopsy. They saw something. They didn't see anything in the mammogram. They saw something in the ultrasound. They saw something in my lymph nodes. They did the biopsy. And it came back fine. They just said there's some like cells that look abnormal, but it's not cancerous, but we suggest you remove them. Thank God I said yes. So I'm like, okay, I'm fine. But something in my gut was telling me, something's wrong. On the day when I went back after the surgery to get my final results, I asked for my husband to come, which I wasn't getting along with at the time, and my mom. I never have anybody come with me to my appointments, like never. I don't know why I'm like, come with me. And I was told at that point that I had stage 2 and possibly stage 3 if there's cancer in my lymph nodes, because they didn't go for the lymph node lump that they saw because they didn't see anything in the breast. And I'm like, what do you mean? The biopsy came back normal. Like, no, it didn't. You have stage 2 breast cancer, and now you have to go under the knife again to remove the lump in your lymph nodes.
So did they just not test properly, or?
No, listen to this. Okay. So the hospital, the pathologist there that did the biopsy and then surgery and afterwards said he had never seen a cancer work this way. Maybe if there's a doctor listening out there, you can like inform us if you have. Basically, when a cancer opens up, it just spreads, right? Like a big ball and like takes over, right?
Yeah.
It was as if my body was trying to stop it. So it was like a braid. So you had a bit of cancer, a bit of fibroid, a bit of cancer, a bit of, so when they punctured three places, by the way, they puncture, they did not hit the spot where the cancer was. They hit everything around, like, understand? So it was like as if my body was trying to stop it. And I was told at that moment, the type of cancer I had was growing at a 70% rate. It was like a monster. I had done a mammogram the year before and an ultrasound. So there was nothing there. This thing grew over like just a few months. It was super fast. And I was like, oh my God, I got my wish. Now, here's the trick. This is how I see it afterwards, okay? That gave me the power during my cancer, which was now, it's going to be 10 years, to realize that if I gave myself the cancer, I could take away the cancer too. So I did everything in my power to get rid of this disease in me. I did visualization, meditation. I got divorced during my treatments. I was in chemotherapy. Big decision to do at that time, okay? I became a single mom. My business had to close, but I launched my new business, which exists today, and it won an award 2 years later after opening. I did it on my laptop. I was very determined, but nobody around me was negative around me. I refused anybody that was negative around me. There was no negative talk. I barely told anybody I had cancer because I'm like, I'm going to control what goes into my mind. TV, there was no TV unless it was a comedy. It had to be very positive. Anything that was being introduced to my mind had to be extremely positive, motivational, inspirational, whatever you want to call it, prayers, whatever. There was nothing negative around me happening. And my sole focus was me getting myself better, which was all the things I was doing to help myself, which was basically visualizing my healing, my daughter, and trying to survive with my business. So that's what happened. And I got through it. They were shocked at how I got through it because during the treatments, I had a kidney stone and they had to do surgery. I was neutropenic, which means you have 0 white blood cells, and you cannot do surgery on someone like that because they could easily just get a fever just by existing. I didn't even get a fever. I was giving myself shots twice a day, one to increase my white blood cells, and another one because I developed a blood clot for 3 months, twice a day on my stomach. So it was serious, meaning my side effects were very serious, but I got through it. I got through all the struggles that I had to go through, which was realizing that, I could easily be left on the street because I have nobody to support me anymore. And I have a business that, collapsed because I couldn't launch it. And I was a single mom and trying to be strong for her, who was 10 years old at the time and, making me breakfast when she could, or like lunch, she would bring me like a little sandwich or whatever. And I got through it. I got through it because I switched from like wanting to die to wanting to live, like, and knowing I will be okay if I do this. I really believed it in my core. I visualized like these little, like when I would get chemo, it'd be like, okay, it became, you know, at first it was my enemy because I hated it, but then I'm like, no, it has to become my friend. So I visualized
essentially. And so all the energy that used to be negative, you had to switch it to positive to recover. But
Exactly.
Then you find it silly and almost ironic that in your switch and the struggles that you had, the negativity, which included, you know, your now ex, like all the things started falling away. All the negativity just started falling away. And now you have, you know, the positivity you need to fight.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine, but your daughter must be incredibly proud of you through, you know, seeing you struggle through it and being so successful on your own.
You know, I'm really proud of her because she went through a lot. You know, I went through a lot, but for a 10-year-old to lose like the stability of a marriage, you know, a father and mother being together, the loss of the very real loss of thinking that her mom could die and she could lose her too. These are scary. Like they're scared of like stuff they watch on TV. This was happening in real life. So, you know, and she would sit there and she would hug me and she would kiss me and she would try to make me laugh. You know, like that wasn't her job, right? Yeah. But it became her job. She adulted very quickly at 10 years old. So, you know, I'm very proud of her.
I'm proud of both of you. I'm proud of both of you. Just a quick recap if you didn't catch all this. No white blood cells, kidney stones, cancer, divorce, blood clots, single mom, all at the same time. And you guys didn't see before we hit record. My wife was on the camera and we were all busting up laughing, having a brilliant time. So these things that happen to us, these terrible, horrific things, we can get through, we can laugh about later, and then we can build an empire like you've built with Retreat Boss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do our best, don't we? Every day. That's the thing. I mean, whether you're building an empire or you're starting off, that's what you do. You show up. You do. Up, you know?
And I think people too think that you have to be this 20-something and just be a mover and shaker when you're that, you know, in your 20s. But I'm surmising from our discussion, you know, you didn't start until later in life in doing this particular, right?
And I'll tell you, it's not that I was very successful before 40, you know, as far as money is concerned, that's not non-issue. You know where I wasn't successful at? Worrying about what other people are going to think about me. I was so concerned about the image, you know, oh, you know, she has the nice car, the nice house, the happy marriage, the this, the that. I was the yes girl. What do you want? Yes, yes, yes. You know, never thinking of me, thinking, oh my God, what are people going to think if I get divorced? What are people going to think if I fail? What if? The hell with that. That almost killed me.
Amen, sister.
You know what? Like, who cares? You know, when you die, people will talk about you for like that moment. And then they're going to forget about all the things, you know, unless you did something really crazy, you know, like hopefully, you know, like these are small things. Like, who cares? Who cares? But we're just live your life like it's your last, like, honestly.
Well, and I don't know about you, but the time frame I was raised in, you know, my parents were always, you know, you should care about what people think about you. You should always, you know, be dressed to the nines. You should always have your makeup on. You should always be presentable. You should always be a lady. You should never curse. There was a whole list of shit I wasn't supposed to do. Sorry, curse.
It's a long fucking
You know what I'm saying? Huh? Oh, it was a freaking long list, man. So I'm telling you, if you think, and you actually put it on yourself, right? To put these pressures on yourself. You don't have to worry about that. I think you reach an age where, you know, I know we've all reached it. We don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, you like me, if you know, and if you don't, I'm really fucking sorry. You'll never get to know me because I'm pretty fucking cool.
Right. And I'm not going to change myself to adapt to you.
Fully agree with how cool Carol is. But here's the deal. Like, someone's like, oh yeah, Travis, this person has a problem with you. Oh, they do? Just have them text me, you know. Oh, they don't have your number. Oh, they must not know me well enough to hate me. Don't hate me for the stuff you hear.
I like that.
Get to know me and then really hate me for who I am, please.
Right. So here's the thing, like, you know, when you live for others, like that image, you're actually not being authentic to yourself. And I think that's the point of your show here, right? Be genuinely authentic. Okay. So when you are living off of image, I promise you, you are not happy because you have adjusted your lifestyle and your life to please that person, to make them think you are that person when you're really not. And when you're not aligned to you, to who you really are. So let's say you're a lawyer, but truly you wanted to be a singer. You know, you hate your job, you whatever. And even if you don't realize it, you know you're unhappy and you don't know why you're unhappy.
But it shows. It also shows.
You're not aligned.
Yeah.
So, you know, people say, oh, you know, divorce, this and that. You know, I come from the European guilt culture, you know, like, and what are they going to say?
Oh, I've got the Asian guilt culture. So I get it.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like when my mom would say to me, and God bless her, you know, she's gone way past that, the beginning. What are they going to say? What is it? I don't care. That would be my answer. I don't care. They don't like it. They don't need to be around me. Like, I don't care. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be me, my good, my bad, my whatever, you know. I'm not ever a mean or cruel person. There's not a bone in my body that can be that way. So anything I do, you
Travis,
too.
Come on now.
I'm mean. I can be.
You're mean? Oh no, I can't.
No, Travis,
that you're not mean.
He just wants everybody to think he is so he can keep his circle small. We're on to you. We're totally on to you.
You're on to me. Like how did I introduce myself to the group? I was like, hi, I'm Travis. I'm an asshole. And that's just to cut through the tension because some people will think that about me. And they're like,
well,
that's really
actually, when you said that, I was like, I like the dude. I want to get to know him.
That's funny. And you know, in psychology, Travis, just so you know, this might like change your mind. When someone says something bad about themselves in psychology, okay, it's usually the truth because people don't want to show their bad side. Okay, so you know, if someone says I'm a bitch or I'm a this, like that's usually the truth. When they say good things about themselves, like I'm saying, like I'm not a mean person, then you might have to question it because, of course, you always want to paint yourself in a great, you know, light, right? Which is normal. And some people might like tweak it a little or whatever, but when someone says, so please don't go around saying that you're an asshole.
I don't.
I don't know. Like as far as
I say it as an icebreaker. And the reason I do is because so many people have said this to me. Real conversation times 50 people. You're like, you know, when I met you, Travis, I kind of thought you were an asshole. And then now that I've gotten to know you better, it's some variation of now I'm okay with it.
So do you have resting bitch face or something that everybody thinks you're an asshole?
Obviously, like super angry. Like every time I leave the house, I make sure I pack my angry eyes, you know, all that stuff. I don't know.
I think it has something to do with his voice.
Yeah, maybe it's my voice.
Your voice is like so deep and you get all so serious and you're like focused.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm always willing to speak up right away. I'm always willing to ask questions right away. And when someone says something that they're not holding themselves accountable, I'm willing to do it right away because that's something that matters to me.
Well, and maybe it makes him uncomfortable. The honest truth is, I'm sure it makes him uncomfortable.
Good.
Yeah.
We need people to be more uncomfortable in this life. So I'm going to talk with my son last night. And he's like, he's kind of like moving around the room kind of behind us. And we're like, what the heck? Like be in front of someone when we're talking. It's like, I really don't like eye contact. It's like, well, the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get with it because it's a really important skill to have. And you have to go through and stretch your comfort zone in order to do things you've never done before.
Yeah, exactly.
Carol, what first impression do people have with you? Like that you've heard of?
And honestly, this was a problem when I first came out, right? And started my business. I had
okay, for a second there, I thought you came out and I'm like, what?
I felt the same way. Did you hear that? I heard.
No, because I stayed out of social media and everything for a really long time. And then I put myself out there and I didn't want to, right? And they said, they're either going to hate you or they're going to love you. And I said, well, why do you say that? And they go, because, you know, the way you present yourself there are people that are going to think you're just automatically like a stuck-up bitch, right?
Yeah.
And I go, but they don't know.
I can see that.
Right?
I can't see that at all. I can't see that at all. That was the joke. Oh my goodness.
This was a joke too. Not really.
That's
but
hilarious.
anyway.
That's how I can find all my friends. I go to my kids like, hey, did you drop this in the hallway? And like, oh yeah, that's mine. It's like, well, here you go.
Sorry.
For those of you not watching the video, we're flipping each other off on camera.
I know. It's awful, but we love each other, so it's okay. It's all in jest. But it was difficult because I go, well, how do I change that? And he goes, you can't. You absolutely can't. They just either have to get to know you or they have to presume you're a bitch. And I thought, wow, and just like we were saying, the way we're raised, we want everybody to like us, right? So I tried everything I could to kind of make myself smaller to engage with these people. And what I realized in doing that, obviously, is I was not being myself. I continued to do that for many, many years. And when you do that for that long, you start to lose yourself and you start to become very disconnected with yourself and the real person that you are. So yeah, it doesn't make it easy.
Well, how does this work? So we all have similar situations. I'm going to say something and you're immediately going to say that, Travis, it doesn't apply to you. We always include labels in who we are, right? So you are both mothers, right? And at some point the kids move out and you're a mother, but you're not an actively participating mother with the kids taking care of the day-to-day stuff. You almost lose that part of your identity. I served in the military for 22 years and now I'm no longer LT, as I like to be called, Lieutenant LT. Like that part of me is gone. And some people will still call me, but very few. Like, how does that external thing that you attach to your identity, when that leaves, how does that affect you?
There's a grieving process also to it. There's, because you're detaching yourself from it. You're no longer that. There's a grieving process. And just like a grieving process, there's some denial, there's some acceptance, there's some sadness, and then you go back to it and whatever. And until you get over that grieving process, you don't really find who you really are, because you have to go through it. It's normal. If you're a mom for 20 years, you're in the military, and that is your identity. There's a lot of gymnasts and people, that work in that are sports people that, my goodness, they're the football stars and whatever. And now they no longer have that. Where do they go? Who are they now? What are they going to do with themselves? It's not easy. It's not an easy, because you're literally living a different life now. It's not the same at all.
What sucks is we come into it. We were individuals before we met our husband. We became a wife, number one, right? Then we became a mother. And you somehow lose the individual part of yourself when you become a wife and a mother. And then when your kids move out and then you get divorced, all of a sudden, this part of you that you once were, you have to go reacquaint yourself with, because you no longer know that person.
Yeah. And when you're in your 20s, you're still discovering yourself. And if you get married in your 20s, you're now discovering yourself with another person in the picture. So your personalities kind of mesh together, and you don't know anymore if this is what you want to do. Like, let's say different things that you fall in love doing. And then when they're gone, all of a sudden you're not into that stuff anymore. So
yes, I know that all too well.
Right?
Well, you get conditioned, right? Tell me, ladies, if this, so my wife has explained this to me. I don't get these questions as a guy. I don't know if it's just me or if it's all guys. If you're listening to this, let us know. Send us a comment, shoot us an email if this is true for you. She would say, like, when she was growing up, like, oh, when are you going to get a boyfriend? And you're defined by your relationship status. And then you get a boyfriend, like, oh, when are you guys going to get engaged? And then when you engage, then the question becomes, no, when are you going to get married? Not questions about her, questions about her status. Then you get married and you're like, well, when are you going to have kids? When am I going to be a grandparent?
Yeah.
Did you guys get bombarded with all these questions about your relationship and like your birthing canal status?
Yes.
When we go home with the kids, it's how are the kids? How's Travis? It's not how's Megan.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure with these milestones. And if you're in that wheel, sometimes, like, people don't want to get married anymore, but because they're in that wheel, it happened to me. This is why I'm saying this. when you're in that wheel of like, okay, well, I'm getting married in 4 months or in 6 months, whatever it is, you know, or in 2 months. And now I don't want to get married, but oh my God, I've committed, I've this, I've that. What are people going to say? The wedding invitations are out, whatever it is. And then they go through with it because the pressure is crazy. And especially if you've been raised that way. And then all of a sudden you're in a marriage and it just doesn't work out, you know, because you just were part of that wheel, that process. And it's like literally a snowball effect, just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, let me ask you, coming from a European culture, was it pressure from your family? Did the cultural part of it play a part
100%.
in like in the guilting of the, you know, what will people think? Like, would they associate with like, this will affect, you know, the family if you made a decision outside, you know, what? Let's just say marriage, right?
It's what are people
you're getting
say?
married.
And look, back in the day, okay, like this was, I you know, this was my first marriage. Okay, that happened. I was young and I was really concerned about what people would think. Like that was really like, because I saw red flags, and the red flags did not, you know, even though I knew they were there, I still continued because I was like, no, you know, I can't embarrass the family. I can't.
Okay, so you did have the whole embarrassment of the family thing idea in your head. That's what I was kind of getting to, but obviously not successfully.
Yeah. And it's the worst thing you could do to yourself, right? It's the worst thing you could do to yourself and to the person, you know, like my spouse at the time, my husband at the time, he was a super nice guy. He didn't deserve that. So, you know, it was something that I had to live with after, because I did go through with it. He would have been hurt anyway, even before, but I'm just saying, you know, like I was young, I was scared, and I just went through with it because I was like, no, I can't disappoint. I can't, you know, all these things go through your head. And I know there's people that still go through that. You know what, if you fast forward now, because now it's been many, many years, you know, decades later, my mom has the same concept. Like, I don't care what other people think, you know, like with me, you know, and with her other kids, she's like, no, be you, do you, whatever. But back in the day, it sure didn't, I don't know if she had that mentality or not, but it didn't feel like there was that mentality for me at that point.
It doesn't feel that way,
changed.
Right? But I said this on another episode, like, don't be worried about what your neighbors think. They've never had a real thought in your life. Think about right now, both Carol and Catherine, think about it just for a moment. How often do you honestly spend thinking about other people? I'm not talking about your family. I'm talking about just random other people. I know I'm pretty high on the list, but how much time do you actually spend thinking about other people?
A lot.
I'm a huge empath.
But a specific person.
I don't know about you.
Like a specific, like you got a problem with the neighbor, or they did something stupid, like the thoughts in and out of your mind.
Now, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like random person in the mall. Like, 3 weeks later, you're like, man, I really wonder what that guy was up to. No, the thought is gone. Unless there's
now, hold on.
About,
if he was particularly good looking, you might wonder. I'm just kidding.
I might not wonder, unless I want to know what gym he goes to. Bulk
Sorry, squirrel.
Squirrel. But I mean, that's kind of the point, right? Like, outside of the people that we really care about, like my neighbors, they don't. I mean, my neighbor Daryl,
strangers,
right?
Yeah,
but he doesn't like take up any space in my head.
Yeah, strangers and acquaintances obviously would spend, you know, you wouldn't spend much time on. There are people that you care about, and you know, they could be going through some things, and they're in your thoughts constantly, at least in the back of your mind, you know.
Yeah, I know that if someone acts in a bad way towards me or says something that's inappropriate or offensive, the thought that goes in my head, and I've tried to teach my daughter, is if you've done nothing wrong and you know it, and they were rude to you or mean or whatever, just know that there's something that's either going on with them or something bad happened. Something's going on with them. Do not take it personally. It has nothing to do with you. Does it mean you have to take it? No, but don't take it personally. do not take it personally. Walk away saying, boy, they're in trouble,
Yeah.
or they have a problem,
Or even reach out to help them. Like, hey, everything okay?
Well, it depends if they're a
Turn it
stranger.
around. Yeah. Well,
I've actually I do that a lot when I've even done it with strangers, to be honest with you. And let's say you're at a cashier, and she's not even looking at you and her face is down and she's just passing everything. I'll look at her and I'll be like, I'd love to see you smile today. And they'll just smile, I'd love to see you smile today. You have a pretty face.
They probably actually never have anybody engage them in conversation and treat them like a person.
I make it a point because I realized someone had said this and I'm like, my God, I'm guilty of that too. When you're in the checkout process, whatever, do you look at them in the eyes? And, most people don't. If you observe it next time you go to the grocery store, nobody looks at them in the eyes. They just like stare them down.
I talk to everybody. Like I literally carry on conversations with the cashiers, my baristas. I mean, that's how you develop, great relationships with these people. Mm-hmm. I actually have a barista stand that before I pull in, they see my car and they have my coffee ready for me because I ordered the same thing every time.
Right.
And that's like, these are the relationships you develop. Like I want to know all their names, and I love the fact they know mine. I mean, it has this really intimate feel.
See, it adds a nice interaction during your day too, right? So if you do that, right, it's another plus, another win. I made someone smile today, or, it was nice to see, I don't know, Shelly, like whatever it is, instead of just like, here, give me my coffee, whatever. Almost not.
Never make eye contact
with my coffee and walk away. Yeah.
I want to jump back to the negative comment thing. Something I started doing within the last few months here is when someone has something crappy to say, I take just a moment and I question in myself, like, does this person know what they're talking about? Is this person an authority on the thing that they're criticizing? Do they have any ground to stand on? And if I can get through those questions, even really quick, it takes all the negative energy out of the interaction, and I don't file it as a bad thing in my head. If I can delay whatever's going on just by a few moments, don't let it doesn't enter my being and ruin the rest of my day, the rest of my evening, the rest of the week. Do you guys do this?
I'll tell you what I hate about me is if someone shocks me with something really insulting, okay, someone that I'm not expecting, maybe I know them, whatever, and they say something so, I don't know, insulting. I don't know how else to use it. Just something that really catches me off guard. Instead of responding with either a smart remark back or something nice, whatever it is, I almost freeze and I'm like, okay, and then it takes me a few minutes to process. And I'm like, why didn't I respond better to that? Why did I just take that? Because I think it's because I'm in shock. I'm like, how can someone just say that? Whatever it may be. I don't know if that's ever happened to any of you where you're so shocked over something someone just said. You're you walk away bedazzled. What
3 days later,
walk
you
away.
have this badass comeback. You're like, yeah.
I don't have.
Yeah, I wish I was one of those people.
Badass comment. I'm not a good I'm not that quick on my feet.
No.
You want to know something? I have said who fucking pissed in your Cheerios today?
Yeah.
I've said that, but that's the extent of it, because I can't believe they must be having a bad day. So I figure, say something funny like that. Who pissed in your Cheerios today?
Yeah.
Hey, Catherine, tell us something that that really, really makes you upset. Just every day, something that happens in industry, a thing. What really just gets you riled up and you can't control it yet?
I find anybody who lies or disrespects another person, even if it's not me, if it's someone close to me and someone says something to them that is not that I'm less valuable, but I get even more upset. So if someone is self-righteous and down talks to somebody because they think they're richer, they're better, they're wealthier, they're whatever they think, their shit doesn't stink. I don't know. And they talk down to a friend, a family member, whatever it is, someone next, even if I don't know them, and I see this action happening, they could be a stranger, it doesn't matter. If I see this happening, I get very smart around their ass. That's when you'll see a very
different Catherine come up, the badass.
You know,
Yeah.
like I'll
Cat's
be very,
claws
all of
come
a
out.
sudden, my hyper intelligence comes in. I'll be talking to them in words that they'll never understand, and I'll make them understand. And I'll be
Let me
like,
give you a dictionary for that.
wait a second. Let me check. No,
You have to Google that word? I'll wait.
you know, to make them understand that, you know, if you want to make this person feel lesser than you, I'll make you understand that
What that
you have
feels
no
like.
right to do that without being mean or rude or whatever. I'll just become very like all of a sudden, like very serious and
So you'll
yeah.
still maintain their let's just say their dignity.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they'll know
Yeah.
not to fuck around.
See, I love talking to snobs like that because I love just firing at them. I love that because like condescension, it's not like the art of condescension
I can't
is you do it in such a way that they don't know that they're being talked down to. Right. That's what real condescension is. We've had it to mean that you're just talking down to somebody. Real condescension is they don't know they're being talked down to and no one else does. It's a real art. It's a big thing. But like snobs, I had someone doing this to me. My wife and I are bowlers. We like to bowl. I know that's not big all over the country.
Actually, I would not have guessed that in a million years, but thank you for sharing it.
I've been to bowling nationals like 3 times. Not the point of the story, but I went to go get on a base league and I was like, oh yeah, it's exciting. You know, my brother-in-law has been doing great this year. My one brother-in-law hit his third 300 and my other brother-in-law, he's rolled 8 this year. And I was just, you know, happy for them. And he's like, well, how many of you rolled? It's like, oh, none. I'm not that into it. And he scoffed at me. He's like, oh, none. Ugh. I was like, who the fuck do you think you are? We're bowling at an on-base league. No one's making any real money here. Like, why were you talking down to me for not having bowled a 3? I don't give a shit. Fuck you. Like, what? Like, how is this a thing? How is this a conversation? Oh,
Well, you got to be a big man on campus for that moment in the conversation.
I don't care. I don't care in the slightest. But why would he try to make me feel bad for not having bowled a 300?
Yeah.
I don't know.
As a woman in business, you get it off more often than not.
I think it's par for the course, isn't it? You almost expect it and anticipate it. It's not a rarity.
See, I don't
I've dealt with, like, because of the you know, the real estate that I've had, and especially the inn, because I literally rebuilt that place. I dealt with a lot of construction guys and all that, so they're being all like whatever. And one time, like, one of the boss or whatever, the owner of the construction company, I don't know what he said to me, I can't even recall, but I remember just putting him in his place in front of everybody, like, buddy, don't talk to me like that again, you know, but in a way where it was like, he was shocked. He was. I
don't get that point of view. I have never met a woman that hasn't done everything better than a guy. Like, I don't get sexism or like that. Like, I don't get it. Like, there's no chance my house will look this good without my wife. There's women I've worked with in the military that can actually run circles around me. Like, everyone I've met, especially in the group that we're in, like, they're all phenomenal. Like, I've never understood how someone can be like, oh, well, she's a woman, so she must not know how to do whatever industry they're in. They're a fucking badass, obviously. I never got that point of view.
Well, look, you're a professional. Everybody, this is how I see it. Sometimes people get intimidated by somebody. They're like, oh, he's a doctor, he's a this, he's a president, he's whatever it is. I promise you, what you're an expert on, he is not. Okay. What you've been through he hasn't. So you're an expert in those things. You could teach him too. You know, I don't care if he's the smartest person in there. I don't care if he's Elon Musk, you know, a genius. There's stuff that I know that I can teach Ellen. What do I call him? Elon?
Elon.
Okay. Elon. What's his name? Elon or Ellen? How do you pronounce it?
Elon, right? Elon.
Elon. Okay. So, you know, I'm sure there's something all 3 of us can teach Elon, right? That he does not know. And of course, vice versa. He could teach us a whole lot of stuff. But I mean, nobody knows everything. So, you know, don't
learn from one another, essentially.
Yeah. Don't underestimate who you're dealing with. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean you could take advantage of me. Just because I'm nice doesn't equate to stupid. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, you have to deal with as a nice person. They think, oh yeah, she's nice.
They think it's a weakness.
They think it's a weakness.
Really, it isn't. If anything, it takes courage to be kind and thoughtful. Right. Because some people don't deserve it, yet you still extend that to them.
Yes, 100%.
I think nice is overused. I think nice is a word that's used to downplay anything. Oh, how was dinner? Oh, it was nice. Oh, how was
Overly used?
Carol? No, it's I think it's misused because you said kind and you said polite and generous, kind, and there's 1,000 other words to describe it. But when you're going to forget somebody immediately, oh, I like them, they were nice, and then you never think about them again. I feel like nice is a cuss word. Nice is a shitty word.
Nice is a 4-lettered word.
Yeah, like
it's way
another
worse than any of the
4-letter
words
word
that
we
we've
know.
been saying. Seriously. Oh, I like her. She's so nice. What's her name? I can't remember because they were
I don't know.
unremarkable
Yeah.
and not noteworthy in the slightest.
No, wait a second. Wait. I forget a lot of names. Please do not say that. It's not because they're not important. Please.
So if they were important, you'd remember their name.
I honestly have a horrible memory. I forget entire weekends.
No,
I
you don't.
swear to you.
There's something that you
Yes,
know
I
more
do.
of than anybody else. Your memory
Travis?
is legit. You just don't care that much about someone's name.
Not necessarily true. Hit menopause, and then literally your memory goes to shit.
When
Like,
I
I
hit
can't
menopause,
remember things
you guys won't know about it.
Yes, I would like to know when you hit menopause.
When I hit
Um,
menopause.
But it's one of those things. I always had a really great memory until I hit menopause, and then I was like, fuck, I can't remember anything anymore.
I don't think you have
I
a
had
bad
the
memory. I think you just
trifecta,
have so many
so-
files.
Yeah.
Right? You have so many more files to search through than I do.
Yeah.
And I have so many more files to search through than my kids do. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, what's this? They've got 3 files. They've got video games in school and YouTube. They're like, oh, it's obviously in one of these.
You forgot food.
Right? But you know what I mean? But like, the older you get, the more files you have. It's not that you have a poor memory. It just takes you longer to get through all the files.
Well, it's
Listen,
also
all I-
very hormonal.
Yeah. All I know is when I was pregnant, right? That was one. You forget. Then I had chemo. That fried my brain quite a bit.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
menopause. So like literally it's a joke in the family. Like my daughter's like, I just told you. And I'm like, you did.
See, maybe maybe names is one of my superpowers and I just don't recognize it.
I think that's very true, Travis, because you remember a lot of people's names. Like that's not my strong point. It takes me about 6 times meeting a person before it's solid in my head.
Well, so something I used to do, because I moved like 36 times before graduating high school. I think I'm at 50 total right now. Every time I went to a new place, I would go get a yearbook and I would have to study and memorize people's names, because otherwise, how do I even interact with people if I don't know anybody? So
New people all the time. Yeah.
I forced myself to study all these names in a book, especially the pretty girls, let's be honest, because I didn't want to mess any of their names up. So, I mean, seriously, but when you go to so many different schools,
That's
there's
a
like 12.
player.
Yeah. I'm not a player. I just crush a lot.
Actually, there's a tactic. I saw this somewhere on TikTok, Instagram, I don't know what, where the guy calls a girl by a wrong name, but he really knows her name. And the guy next to him is like,
Oh,
have you
yeah.
seen that?
That's a movie.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Love and Other Drugs, and that was
Okay.
Jake
Yeah.
Gyllenhaal's character. And
So maybe you were doing it wrong. I don't know. How many girls?
well, I saw
did
the
you pick up
clip
that year?
because it's a great clip. But if you watch the whole movie, like that girl that he called the wrong name to on purpose and then told the story about, she hated him the whole time and it never.
Oh,
panned out
okay.
for him.
So it didn't
But the
work.
clip
Didn't
you're
work out,
referring
yeah.
to was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this Retreat Boss business that you have. What is it? Was it about how can people get involved? I see you got retreatboss.com. For those of you not watching the video, she's got it on her name on the video, which very much appreciated. Tell us about Retreat Boss.
Yeah. So as I told you 10 years ago, that what happened to me put me in a space where I had to figure out what I'm going to do with that building that I had. So I turned it into a retreat center at the time. And from there, it just kicked off. I started staging venues, reservation. I had a reservation agency. I started certifying venues for different, for the hospitality board, talking to the city, whatever, everything that had to do with the venue to set them up, coaching the owners. And then I started planning and all of that. And I was planning for people from across the world and everything. So it started back then, 10 years ago, because
While you were doing chemo.
It just fell on my lap, literally. Yeah, during chemo. God. And, my purpose the first few years was I needed to get recognized in a sense. So I won awards, and I ended up being in the newspaper because I was creating some events that were newsworthy. And my competitors started asking me, can you replicate your success? And I said, sure. And I opened up a reservation agency.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. And I started doing it that way for them. And again, like I said, staging and all of that. So it grew from there. And then 2 years ago, I had to shut down again because I'm in the worst business in the world. It's all about gathering and travel, right?
COVID.
So I had to start from square one again. So what I did is I rebranded the business, and now it's called Retreat Boss.
What was it called prior, Catherine?
Sunhill.
Sunhill. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I like this name much better.
Yeah. Well, there's a different, right. There was, because my purpose now is a little different because I'm in the transformation space, which is what happened to me. I got transformed during my cancer, and I saw the impact it had on my life. I said to myself, how can I spread my wings further and get people to transform others and others and others? So I said, I'll take the 10 years experience that I have, I'll put it in courses, and I'll sell these courses online and help people do it for others as well. So that's where we're at. We're at, Retreat Boss has courses to teach people how to plan, create, and profit from a retreat. I'm going to teach people who are in the retreat business how to make money, because a lot of them don't know how to make money because they're heart-centered, and that's not their first goal. Their first goal is transformation. So because I've been in this business long enough, and because, I've seen it with my own eyes, the transformation and the impact it has, the more money they make, the more transformation they can do, because I really want them to continue doing it.
Well,
so
the more impact that they can make as well.
Exactly.
It's not even just about the transformation. I mean, in order for us to have an impact, we need to have funds to be able to do it. And with the more funds we have, the more people we can have an impact on. Exactly.
So we have courses now available. We plan for others, and soon there will be a lot of other offerings that I'm going to have on the website as well, which I won't announce yet until it's actually launched. But there's a lot of great things happening, and that's where I'm at now.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I know you mentioned impact, and I wanted to bring this up. I did a lot of work with nonprofits, and I still host the Nonprofit Architect podcast that Catherine was a guest on. But if you want to impact 1 million people and you only spend $1 a person to do it, it still takes you $1 million. So I don't know what this hang up against earning money and generating money is. The more money you're able to create through your business, and in this case, retreats, the larger impact that you can have. If it costs you $5 to help each person that you helped, and you helped 1 billion people, it'd take you $5 billion. It takes money in order to make that impact, regardless of what kind of systems are in place or anything else. So really love that you're doing that and helping your industry actually earn the cash they need to make the impact that they want to have.
Yeah, thank you. And that's a great way of putting it. It creates, people don't think about that, $1 a person, $1 million.
Well, and they think that earning $1 is just evil. And you go, no. I think you're mistaking that. It's a misconception.
Or they think someone on the Forbes list of like what Elon Musk is worth $400 billion. They think they have $400 billion, like in a money bin or something, like they're Scrooge McDuck. Like that's how much his companies are valued at and his stock is valued at.
Right.
It's not that he has 400 billion in the bank. Like,
yeah,
think
he has a little more than me.
You have to help. How many people you have
he
to
has
help?
A lot more than all of us combined. Okay.
Yeah. Times 100.
Yeah,
right.
me plus,
1,000, who
me
knows?
plus Bill Gates means, combined, we're both billionaires, right? If we take all of our money. Yeah. But if you're going to help, if you have to help that many people in business in order to have that large of an impact, and they're like, well, they shouldn't have all this money. How many families are getting full-time paychecks and benefits and healthcare because they're doing the great thing that they're doing? Because they're impacting that many people. Absolutely.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we could get that out of our heads as heart-centered, because I consider myself a heart-centered entrepreneur, then we could impact others in great ways, in great ways, and including retreats in your coaching program, your wellness program, your yoga program, whatever program you have there, even in business, corporate, you do this for your employees, you're going to get so much back out of it. Like as a host, I've been a host. The transformation that I've seen before my eyes, literally, I felt guilty because I was like, my God, I think I'm getting more out of this than they are, like just watching this happen in front of my eyes. So if you want to have that feeling,
your soul. I mean, quite honestly, it makes you continue doing what you want because this is already your passion. But when you see everybody else getting so much out of it too, you feel like you're also a part of their transformation and that process, and you made it possible. So it's got to be a great feeling as well.
And, you know, I know you have a book, right? And if you can impact even one person, that's what I said with even one person, change their life with your words. That's your legacy. That is your legacy, like changing someone's life. That is huge.
Well, and I think we all go through these struggles, and we don't necessarily go through the same struggles. I always say you don't get a free pass. You know, everybody goes through pain and issues. But at the end of the day, if there's something that maybe resonates with you, something that maybe I've experienced that, you know, you're currently experiencing, or you have, and you didn't, you know, you don't know how to get out of it. And if you can hear that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, you know, that just that spark of hope that if I could do it, you could do it too. Because I don't think that we were all put here on this earth to individually just lead our lives separately. I think we were put here to help each other make it through, because it's not easy, but it becomes easier when you have support and when you have people that you know are also going through these things. Or, you know, people don't talk about the struggles that they've gone through, almost like it's a shameful thing to say, like, oh no, me, I got no problems. You're a fucking idiot if you go around saying that. We all got problems, right? We all got either more minor problems or really big ass problems, right? But we all have problems, and all you need is to know, hey, I'm not alone. That's really just the core. You're not alone.
And that's one of the main reasons that we started the show, Carol, is so, like, we've got Catherine, who's amazing, who does fantastic stuff with Retreat Boss. And you can see all of Catherine's stuff on all the social media channels. But until people really understand the struggles that people go through, because everyone's got them, you know, we could talk about Carol being American-born Chinese. We could talk about my time in trailer parks and foster homes. We could talk about Catherine surviving breast cancer and her whole laundry list of things she was doing at the same time. Just because someone looks different than you, or because they had a different upbringing or background than you do, or because they have more or less followers on, like, none of that stuff means, like, everyone had to go through an enormous amount of shit to get where they are, regardless of where they started in life. And that's one of the biggest reasons that we wanted to start the show, was to showcase that people are people. People love being around each other. They like having fun. They like talking a little trash, you know, like we do here. We're lucky we're on Zoom, because it would probably throw it down by now. But, you know, all the experiences that humans have, like, we all collectively had them. Are they a little bit different? Yeah, they're a little bit different. Do they suck a little bit more or less? Yeah, they suck a little bit more or less. But they still are the human experiences and the human condition. And as we get ready to wrap up here, Catherine, what kind of advice would you have to someone that's struggling out there right now?
Never lose faith in the journey, because the journey is there for a reason. The lessons, the breakdowns, you know, when you want to give up everything, don't lose faith. Know that there's a light behind the clouds. The sun always shines eventually. You just have to wait for the cloud to pass for the sun to shine. So that's so cliche, I think, but, you know, it's the truth. It's the truth. You just wait it out. You do wait it out, and learn from that lesson. Don't let it be there, like, unseen or unheard. Learn from that lesson and use it as a stepping stool to your journey to get where you want to be. That's it.
And then teach others too, and share it with others, so others might not necessarily have to go through the same degree of struggles you did.
Exactly. And that's why I wrote my book, to do that, to give that to people. I felt like it was my obligation and my purpose to write that book. I didn't do it to make money. That's 100%. I did it.
By the way, you don't make money off the book. I'm just saying, okay?
You know?
You just don't. It's you're literally making yourself vulnerable the minute you put that out there, right? Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's you're not making money out of that book. What you're hoping for is that it reaches people that it's intended to reach.
Exactly. That's what I did. Or I
Is
try
your
to.
book available on retreatboss.com?
No, it's not. No, it's not,
It's
because
on-
the focus is on retreats, but they could go to Amazon and pick it up from there.
And are you still doing podcasts, Catherine?
My podcasts right now are focused on retreats. It's actually the Retreat Boss podcast. So anybody, any expert in the field, or they don't even have to be in the retreat space. They could be a marketing guy. They could be whatever, anything that can help somebody in business, because it is a business, then they're invited to come on my show.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Catherine, thank you so much for being our guest today, sharing your insights about wishing for death and then being shocked that death showed up on your door, how you went through that, how you and your daughter struggled through that whole process, and how you came together, poured the positive into your life, comedy shows on TV, having a great time. So you could be with us here today. Congrats on growing your business, retreatboss.com. And thank you again for being our guest.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of Titan Evolution Podcast. We hope this no-holds-barred conversation opened your eyes on what it takes to live a genuinely happy life according to your own terms. Now that you've treated yourself to such a refreshing discussion, you cannot listen to nonsense content anymore. Be sure not to miss an episode by subscribing to the show at TitanEvolutionPodcast.com. Don't forget to share the word so more people can be enlightened, informed, and entertained. Thank you for listening.